أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما ثم السلام على آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم الأجمعين إلى يوم الدين صلوات رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح المؤمنون صدق الله العظيم صلوات السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So we've been looking at Sura Al Mu'minun, and the ayah that I've been reciting all these days is قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Indeed, no doubt about it, it's a done deal. Those who are mu'minun are definitely successful. And we're looking at these 13 qualities. Just to recap a little bit, on day 1 we looked at the concept of success. On day 2 we looked at 2 of the things that we do in Salah, which was khashi'un and hafidhun. You're supposed to know these words, right? On day 3, we looked at 2 things out of the 13 that we don't do. No laghu and no shirk. You know what laghu is? No, you know what shirk is. Yesterday, we looked at 3 things. We looked at those who do zakah, not give zakah, fa'ilun. You remember the doing? We did that. And we also looked at yu'tuna, those who gave from whatever they had. And the last thing we looked at was hafidhun. That means they were, and it's the same thing as salah, the same word used, but basically they were protective over their sexual behavior. Now, following on from that, we have in your papers, it is the 5th one, which is trustworthy. It literally follows on from there, because it says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَأَحْدِهِمْ ra'un. Now the letter or the word I need you to remember here is ra'un. Okay, so the word ra'un actually comes from ra'i, which is a shepherd. So these people, for their promises, because ahad is a promise, when you give somebody an amana, it means I am giving, somebody is at peace because they've given this amana to me and they know I will look after it. So they are like shepherds. They look after their flock. What is their flock? Their promises and their amana, or trust as such. Now, why does it follow on from the last one? If you are trustworthy at home, if your spouse or your family doesn't have to worry about you cheating on them or you being dishonest towards them, then automatically you will not be dishonest outside. It just carries on from there. Now let me look at some tests, okay? Basic things. Does your mobile phone have a password that your husband cannot access? Don't tell me, I don't want to know. Does it lie around? Maybe if you're doing counseling or you're doing matchmaking or something, you don't want your children to look at your phone. That's a different thing altogether. However, do you delete texts that you don't want them to see? Or is the phone available for all? These are just little things that we've got to think about. There's a company, in fact, many Christian companies do this. There's a particular person, I was looking at his name is Zayn Marshall. Zayn Marshall owns a digital company. And in his company, if anybody, any of his employees cheat or they do anything where their families do not trust them, he doesn't employ them. Because he says, if you can't behave like that at home, you will not be able to behave like that outside. Now, cheating doesn't only mean as what comes into our head. It's a lot of things, absolutely a lot of things. Let me tell you a tiny little thing before I move on a little bit. How many times have you told your children, my children have grown up, wait till your father comes home? Wait for what? And then when father comes home, what happens? Nothing. Oh, kind of did you. So the child learns that it's okay to lie. I mean, I don't know about you, but in Christmas, do you tell them to put their stockings out? And this big Father Christmas will come through this non-existent chimney and put money in there, or put gifts in there. Or I will lock you up if you're naughty. You never lock them up. You don't do that. And these are little things that lead to our dishonesty. I'm speaking on little things, okay? It's gross things, it's little things, but you know exactly where I'm going. So these people, these mu'mineen as such, we want to be part of them, they are trustworthy outside as well. Nobody worries about the trust they handle over to them, okay? Now you look at number 7, which is ayah 57. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ خَشْيَةِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. You know khushu, right? So they are those who in their, if I can call it humility, mindful humility towards their Rabb, they're mushfiqun. Now what does mushfiqun mean? Mushfiqun in the Arabic language means a mixture of love and fear. A mixture of hope and fear. So let me give you some really funny examples, or examples from home. You're sitting in a family atmosphere, and it's time for Asr. Everybody's sitting down to eat. It's time for Asr. You are a bit fearful of the mother-in-law, especially if you've got one like me, right? So she's sitting there at the table and she's looking at you. You've just put kawanu on the table and it's time for Asr. Do you get up and pray? Or do you think, she's not going to like this? What do you do? It's up to you. Mushfiqun. These people are very mindful. Very mindful. Let's forget about Asr because you pray Zohar and Asr together. Let's say something else. You're sitting at a table. We're all sitting together. Okay, we sit here on the sufra. And suddenly somebody says, oh, I got to tell you about what happened at mosque today. My goodness, do you know what she was wearing? Oh my God. What do? Do you get up? Do you sit there? It's somebody you liked very much, or you didn't like, or didn't know. It's a little bit of halal gossip going on. I'm not even talking about gossip, okay? I'm about halal gossip. What do you do? Where do you stop? And where do you stand? And how do you do this without hurting somebody's feelings? And maybe the mother-in-law says, Khali wat thai che, apre to khali wat જ કરે છે ને. બીજું કાંઈ નથી કરતા આપણે. ખાલી વાત કરે છે. So these people are very, very mindful. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ خَشْيَةِ رَبِّهِمْ mushfiqun. In their heads, they are being watched by their Rabb. Now they don't want to hurt their family. They don't want to say, oh, there's gossip going on here, I'm going, la, 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 la. They do it in another way. So you've got to find a way of how they will translate this. The one after that, this is ayah 60, I think. If you look at your number 11. وَقُلُوبِهِمْ وَجِلَةٌ. Their hearts tremble. Now I'm going on to the next one, which is important, but I need to go up to it. Their hearts, there's always a tremble in their hearts. Let me go a bit further. Okay. Musa. You have to Prophet Musa. So if you look at Prophet Musa, I'm going to go to Sura Al Okay. Sura Al Surah number 7, ayah 143. You know, Prophet Musa was told to go onto the mountain to see God for 40 days. You know that? 30 plus 10. In Dhul Hijjah, we read this salah. وَوَعَدْنَا Musa 40. Okay. So he goes up to there. Now, when you get familiar with someone, you want a bit more, don't you? Everybody in life. The more familiar you get with someone, you want. So he's got familiar with God. He thinks this is really good here. He says, Ya Allah, Rabbi arini unzur ilayka. I want to see you. Because now he's got very familiar. He's talking to God. He says, Ya Allah, I want to see you. And Allah says, Qala la tarani. La say Maya. You will not be able to see me. But if you want to see a minuscule of the energy that I have, he says, look at that mountain. So he's on one mountain, he's looking at the other mountain. فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبَّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ, when Allah descends this tiny bit of energy on this mountain, جَعَلَهُ دَكًّا وَخَرَّ مُوسَى. The mountain crumbled and Musa collapsed. We know this story, don't we? Now I'm going to go back to an ayah of Quran that you all know. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل رأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. If this Quran was sent down on a mountain, you would find that the mountain would crumble into pieces. Is that not an energy of Allah, right? He says it'll crumble into pieces. And this is a sign for those who think. Now I'll go a bit further. So the number 8 on your things, which is 2358. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِآيَاتِ رَبِّهِمْ يُؤْمِنُونَ. They are those who believe. يُؤْمِنُونَ, trust, believe in the signs of their Rabb. In other words, they believe in the Quran. Now, I know it's taking Cole to Newcastle and telling you believe in the Quran. I'm going to go a little bit further into this, right? What do I do with my Quran? I will be asked about it. This is the book of guidance. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. When we went into inverted brackets big Quran, did they tell you small Quran and big Quran? They said this is small and this is big. The small was the Qaida, and this was big Quran. It wasn't like that at all, okay? So, but the first ayah you always remember. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. We knew that. This is guidance for the muttaqin. And all of you know what's coming, but it's always good to remind. So let's start right at the beginning. Work out a modular study. First step, recitation. Definitely. We need to be able to recite correctly, with the correct makharis, the correct tajweed. And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we have a phenomenal community. Absolutely phenomenal. The recitation is out of this world. Second step. At least to know the names of the 114 surah. At least. I still remember and I still get phone calls when people will say, Duai Komel kya surah ma che? I get it. I still get it. And I have to say, well, there are ayat in Duai Komel that are from the Quran, and this is where they are. Bring your Quran and we'll highlight them. But we cannot differentiate between dua and Quran. So at least to start off with, to know someone, when I want to get to know someone, at least I know their name, if nothing else. If I want to know this book, I start off by knowing it. I need to know a little bit of the terminology. I've written down some basic stuff. 114 surah of the Quran. 86 are Makki, 28 are Madani. The 86 Makki tell you the why of religion. The 28 Makki tell you the how of religion. And it's not rocket science to know that the why is more important than the how to start with. Yet if you ask me, what did I learn in madrasa, a workshop? I went to madrasa. I didn't go to madrasa, actually. I learned at home. I was told, Usuluddin Panche. Tawheed, Adala, Nabuwa, Imama, Qiyama. And then, Khalas. What does Tawheed mean? Ek Khuda. Nabuwa, 124,000 Paigambar. 1,24,000. See, I got it wrong. 124,000. Okay. Bar Imam. And then? Chaud Masumin. And then? Panjat and Panj. And then Qiyamah. Thank you. Thank you, Mar Tawheed. 86 surah of the Quran dedicated to the why of religion. And then you ask people, and I'm talking about myself, not you. You say, the Quran never came down in siparas. They're called juz and ajza. It was for the benefit of people to finish a recitation in a month that it was divided into 30 equal parts. And at the bottom you'll find manzil or manazil, 7 equal parts if you wanted to finish the recitation in a week. How many ayat in the Quran? I know you might read 6666. It's actually 6,236. How many words in the Quran? 77,807. These are numbers we need to know, because even if I know one, I can put a tick and say, Yalla, I know one. Now 77,806 to go. But there must be a start somewhere. Somewhere along the line, I got to do something, right? We've got to do something. I'm going to go a little bit further. So this book, again in Surah Al-A'raf, is called Risalati Rabbi. You know what Risala is? It's an envelope. So say, for example, just now, all your phones pinged. She told us to keep our phones off. But say they were on and it pinged. And you looked at the WhatsApp message, or I don't know, iMessage, whatever you use, and it said, message from your Rabb. You wouldn't worry about what Azmina said. You would open the phone because it is a message from your Rabb. And my goodness, 2 blue ticks when you answered and said, Labbaik. Can you just imagine? It's Risalat Rabbi. Quran says it, not me. In many places, but this is in Surah Al-A'raf. So if nothing else, at least I should know, and I've written these down. These are the surahs we read most of the time. Fatiha, yes, the 4 Quls, Asr, because it's short, Kawthar, Yasin, Rahman at weddings, Jumu'ah on Friday, Mulk when somebody dies, and Qadr. You know the good thing about Qadr. If somebody's angry with you, just read Qadr. If you can stroke their hair, even better. Makes a difference, right? These are benefits. But we need to know these surahs, no? There's 12, Bar Imam Bar Surah, et Kluto me jane. To know exactly what they mean. You know, if you don't know anything, if you don't want to do anything in life, Quran can only be experienced in Salah. So at least in Salah, to be able to know what I'm reciting. We cannot say what the Arabs said. The Quraysh said, we will follow what our fathers followed. We have to go a step further. Our fathers brought us here. We need to move a little bit forward and know what it means. We need to understand. I'm sorry, I keep on at it. The key ayat, Ayatul Kursi, Ayatul Shahada, Ayatul Mulk, Aman al-Rasul, Ayatul Karima, Ayatul Wilaya, Ayatul Tathir. Even to start off by knowing that when I say Ayatul Tathir, it's 33. Even the children know it. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجا. In the khutbah we recite this ayah, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. It's an ayah of Quran, it's Surah Al-Ahzab, ayah 59. It is the only act you and I do that Allah does. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. I can say, Ya Allah, I do what you do by reciting salawat. But I need to know where it is in my book. 3359. My book needs to be highlighted. It needs to be used. I've said this a lot of times. I remember as a child, my father died when I was 10. I remember when I was about 6 or 7. He was sitting with another niece of his, and he was telling her, the best way to know where you are with Allah is by looking at your Quran. And she said, I don't understand. And he said, if your Quran is well used, if it's well thumbed through, you know that you will never break apart. And I remember so vividly running to my room. I'm 65 now, so it's 60 odd years ago. Running to my room, bringing my Quran. But before I picked it up, I tried to, in that one moment, try to scrunch up the pages. Turn them, open them. You know, you turn the corners a bit. Turn the corners a bit. And I remember bringing it to my father and saying, Baba, my Quran. And he said, my child, it's beautiful. Because he didn't know what else to say, right? But that taught me a lesson in childhood. That Quran needs to be well used. Whoever said that you cannot write in your Quran or highlight, they didn't want you to learn your Quran. It needs to be journaled. We need to write stuff in it. I could go on and on about this. I'm sorry, but it's really, really important. It's probably one of the most important things in our lives. We cannot be like the Jews who are mentioned in The ones that, I'm not talking about today, I'm talking about those that are mentioned in Surah Al-Jumu'ah. We talked about it yesterday. They put their book as though it was on donkeys. They didn't use it. They wrapped it up, they put it up, they only took it out in Ramadan. I'm talking about me. They only took it out in weddings, they only took it out when somebody died. And their Quran wasn't well used, their Torah wasn't well used. We cannot be likened to them, right? We know the ayat, not that we don't. So I'm going to test you a little bit, okay? It's supposed to be interactive, right? A little bit. 555. What comes in your head? 33, you see those 5 under the kisa, right? What about 555? Moment I say 555, you should think of a ruby ring, a red ring, and a person in ruku. What story comes into your head? Imam Ali going into ruku, ayatul bilaya, and he gives that ring. See, it's not that we don't know them. I tell the children when you're doing ghusl, if you don't know the ayah, inna allaha yuhibbut tawabin wa yuhibbul mutatahirin. You know, you get the doors of your shower are a little bit, they've got a little bit of mist on them. Right? 2. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 222. Isn't it wonderful? I know you do Valentine's. Okay, you don't, right? Or you may tell your children, I love you very much. You could say, I 36 you. You could. You are a star. What surah is a star? Najm 53. You are a 53. By starting slowly, I familiarize myself with this book. That's what this book is about. So this is one of the things. They believe in the book. And when you believe in something, when you trust in something, you start off by getting to know that book. You start off by getting to know that person, to know what they're doing. This book is not dead. It is not just a book. I just recited that if a little bit of the nur or the glory of Allah went on a mountain and Musa fainted, and then he says, لو أنزلنا in Surah Al-Hashr, لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن إلى جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. He is telling me this Quran that can make a mountain crumble. And I'm saying, Ya Allah, I wear it around my neck and my neck doesn't bow down. Right? So there must be something in this book that I am not utilizing. So the first step really is to be able to take a little bit, tiny bits, learn the names, learn the key concept of each surah. So if somebody said, now Mu'minun, I know and I hope, you'll say, 13 signs of a Mu'min. You're bound to say it. It'll come straight away. Like that, all 114. It can't be that difficult. And Sayyida proves to you and me that if we could find the time to come and sit here every day in Muharram, in Ashra Zaynibiyya, surely we can spend half an hour a week to learn this book. She proves to us that we can do it if we want to. So it's entirely up to us how we do it. Okay, so I'm going to try and finish the last few signs that we have. Now the other thing about these people is because they read the book and they realize they are accountable. This is number 12 in your papers. It says, إِنَّهُمْ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ رَاجِعُونَ. So this is ayah 60. They are absolutely sure that they will die, that they will return to their Rabb. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. No doubt about it. They have no doubt in their heads. And because they don't have any doubts in their heads, look what they do. Ulaika yusari'una fil khairat wa hum laha sabiqun. Every time they get an opportunity to do a good deed, they run, yusari'una. And they always win. They're always the first to get there. Always. And sometimes we think that good deeds are, oh my God, must be something really big that I have to do. But I remember when I first moved from Chelmsford to London, and there was a period of time when the house was, we couldn't move into the house here, but the children had to start school. So it was May, and in April they had to start school. So I had to drive all the way to Chelmsford to bring the children to school every single day and go back until the house was sorted out, whatever had to be done. The only place I could park was the car park at Hujjat, because nobody would stop me from parking there. And I had a little child of 1.5 who sat in the car with me while the other children finished school. I watched an old man an old man. I watched him as I parked right at the end. This is many, many years ago. My son is now 37, I think, and this was when he was 1.5. So I watched this old man going around the car park every morning, and he used to pick up all the rubbish from the car park, every single bit. And I was absolutely awestruck by him. I just watched this man. And every time I asked somebody, who is this? Because I didn't know anybody in Stanmore, who is this? Nobody knew who I was talking about. I found out that this was the man that owned so many buildings in Dar es Salaam. And when he left that place, he left all those buildings to the widows and the orphans. This was the man whose children are phenomenal. You all know Bapa Dharamsi, right? Bapa Dharamsi used to come here early in the morning and he used to pick everything. And then I look at me and I think, my goodness, 1 cup. I have to be told that don't put a cup in the toilet. How embarrassing. How embarrassing can it be? It's a good deed. That is a good deed. And they always win. When you see the volunteers, you know they're Ahlul Jannah. They pick up after us. They put chairs for us. And then we'll tell them, really? Are you serious? These people are Ahlul Jannah. Don't mess with them. They are what you call mu'mineen. And that's why this actually says, Ulaika yusari'una fil khairat. They rush to do good deeds. And they always win. They always try and find something to do. So when the chairlady has to stand here, I'm sorry, I'm quoting her, has to stand here and ask for forgiveness, I am embarrassed. You're asking for forgiveness. You're a volunteer. We should be sitting here and asking you for forgiveness for behaving like idiots. So these are the 13 signs of a mu'min. I'm going to go over them very quickly before we go into Gujarati, okay? Right. So, 13. Number 1, come on, help me here. Khashi'un. You know that, right? Number 2, hafidhun. And those 2 things are to do with salah. Number 3, hafidhun and ra'un. So hafidhun, they were hafidh with their sexual behavior at home. They were trustworthy at home. And therefore ra'un, they are shepherds in the community as well. You good? 4. Okay, number 5, fa'ilun and yu'tuna. They do zakah, fa'ilun, and yu'tuna, they give whatever they can. Okay. Then we had number 7, mushfikin. In them, there is hope and fear. There is love and fear. And they have to decide which way to go. But they always keep their Rabb in mind. Then wajila. Their hearts are trembling. When they look at the ayat of Quran, when they look at the ayat of Allah, their hearts tremble like that mountain. The moment the Quran is revealed, it crumbled. We have to be told here, there's no sign here now because they've taken it off. But it used to say, when adhan comes and when Quran is recited, don't speak because 70 years of ibadah are rubbed out. Isn't that what we used to have here? They've taken it off now. But these people, wajila, it trembles. Then yu'minun, they absolutely trust and believe in the word of God. Which means that if I tick all these 13 boxes, when the time of death comes, I can say, thank you for life. I did my best to do all these 13 things. I'm a mu'min, you can't touch me. And you have to say it with confidence, no? Oh, okay. I'm glad you're smiling. I am. Okay. Then you had the last 2, which was raji'un and sabiqun. Raji'un, they know they're going to die. Sabiqun, they always win when it comes to doing good deeds. You just have to look around you and see all these volunteers. And there were 2 things that they don't do. So there was 11 ticks and 2 crosses. The 2 crosses, they don't do laghu and they don't do shirk. Are you good? Let's see, we've done 13. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will look at Ziyara Arba'in. We'll try and give you some papers out because the 11th Imam has 5 signs of a mu'min. 1, prays 51 rakats. We get there, inshallah, okay? 2, they do sajda on kak. Not kak-e-shafa, but on sand. But we do kak-e-shafa, which gives us an additional benefit. 3, in their salah, they recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim loudly. 4, the rings that are really important to them, they wear on their right hand. When I recite this at Mandwas, people try and change their rings. to change them. The important ones on your right hand. Where are all the others on the left hand? And the fifth one, they recite Ziyara al-Arba'in. Didn't say just on Arba'in. Now there are some scholars who said this actually means that they do the ziyarah of 40 people. But if you translate it properly, it says they recite ziyarah al-arba'in. So inshallah tomorrow we will look at ziyarah al-arba'in. Ek salawat pari deso please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. તો આપણે અસ્માઉલ હુસ્ના જોતા હતા ને જે આયતની આપણે તિલાવત કર્યા એ સૂરતુલ અરાફની છે જ્યાં અલ્લાહ કહે છે વલિલ્લાહિલ અસ્માઉલ હુસ્ના ફદઉહુ બિહા. ઓકે, તો આપણે રહમાન રહીમને રઉફ છે જો તમને આવડે છે. પછી આપણે કીધા કે એક દુઆ છે યા રહમાન યા રહીમ બિહક્કી બિસ્મિલ્લાહિર રહમાનિર રહીમ. આપણે મુકીતને જોયા. મુકીત યાની 11 ફરે ઇન્સાન પરે તો જે બચ્ચા હોય કોઈ બી હોય જેમને થાય કે આને તમીઝ સરખી નથી તો ઇન્શાલ્લાહ અલ્લાહ અમને મદદ કરશે તમીઝના સાથે. પછી આપણે જોયા યા હય્યુ યા કય્યુમ બિરહમતિકા અસ્તગીસુ ને યા હય્યુ યા કય્યુમ નબી મૂસાએ પરે છે ને કુરાનની આયત છે સૂરત અશ-શુઅરા સૂરા નંબર 26 આયત 62 કલ્લા ઇન્ન મઅયા રબ્બી સયહદીન. આપણે જોઈએ કે ઇમામ અલી જ્યારે જોઈ છે કે રસૂલ જંગે બદરમાં શું પરે છે તો એ પરે છે યા અલ્લાહ યા હય્યુ યા કય્યુમ. પછી આપણે જોયા the 4 F's ગફાર ગફૂર તવાબ ને અફુ. પછી ગફાર આપણે જોયા જ્યારે ઇન્સાન ઘરી ઘરી ગુનાહ કરે તો માફી માંગે તો યા ગફાર. ગફૂર જે દિલના અંદર સા હોય એ અફુ આપણે જોયા કે એ રબ કરી નાખે કોઈ દસ પાછું આવે ને એને તવાબ યાને અલ્લાહ પાસે પાછું જાઓ. ગઈકાલે આપણે જોયા મલિક કુદ્દૂસ અઝીઝ ને હકીમ છે જો આવા છે ને આપણે એ બી જોયા અલી ને વદૂદ. તમને અલી યાદ છે આપણે જોયા નંબર 36 આપણે આપણા દિલમાં છે કારણ કે અલ્લાહ છે સૌથી ઊંચા ને વદૂદ નંબર 47 સૂરત મુહમ્મદ છે ને વદૂદ યાને જે અમને એટલું બધું ચાહે છે. ઓકે, અલીના સાથે જો તમે બ્રેકેટ્સમાં નાખો તો મુતાઆલી તમે સાંભળ્યા છો ને મુતાઆલી પણ સૌથી ઊંચા નંબર 78. ઇન્શાલ્લાહ જો તમે બુક વાંચશો યા કોઈ ટેક્સ્ટ વાંચો તો તમને ખબર પડશે ફરક શું છે. આજે આપણે બે ત્રણ નામ જોશું. એક માણસ હતો એ મસ્જિદ નબવીમાં યાને અલ્લાહ પાસે રગીને દુઆ કરતો હતો. તમને ખબર છે મસ્જિદ નબવીમાં એક દરવાજો છે જે ઇમરજન્સી ડોર છે યાને રસૂલ સાથે બધા બેઠા હતા. જ્યારે કોઈ એ દરવાજામાંથી આવે તો બધા કાંઈ ના બોલે, સીધું એને આવવા દે રસૂલના પાસે. એને કહે છે ઇમરજન્સી ડોર. કારણ તમે મદીના જાઓ તો તમને દેખાશે દરવાજો કેવો છે. તો આ માણસ ઇમરજન્સી ડોરમાંથી આવે છે, એટલું રોય છે ને એ ઘરી એની દુઆ માંગે છે ને કહે છે યા ઝુલ જલાલી વલ ઇકરામ. તો રસૂલ ઊભા થઈને એના પાસે જાય છે ને કહે છે તને શેની વ્યાધિ છે? તે અલ્લાહનું ઇસ્મે આઝમ પહેર્યું છે, તું વ્યાધિ નહીં કર, તારી જે પણ દુઆ હશે એ કબૂલ થશે. ઘણા ફરે પૂછે ઇસ્મે આદમ શું છે તો એ કાં છે દુલ જલાલી વલ ઇકરામ. દુલ યાને somebody who owns. જલાલનું મતલબ પાવરફુલ યાની તાકાતવાળો ઇન્સાન જેનાથી જે બી કરવું એ કરી શકશે. ને ઇકરામ યાને એટલું બધું દેશે અનકન્ડિશનલી દેશે એને છપ્પર વારીને દેશે. તો દુલ જલાલી વલ ઇકરામ બે વસ્તુને કમ્બાઈન કરે છે, પાવરફુલનેસ એન્ડ જેનરોસિટી. તો જો બધા નામ અમે ભૂલી જાય તો એટલું તો જાણો ને યા દુલ જલાલી વલ ઇકરામ. ઓકે, તો દુલ જલાલી વલ ઇકરામ જલાલે છે અલ્લાહનું નામ ને કરીમ પણ છે અલ્લાહનું નામ પણ એટલીસ્ટ અમે જાણે દુલ જલાલી વલ ઇકરામ. બીજા ત્રણ જે કરવું છે એ પણ આ રસૂલની હદીસ છે કે જે આ નામથી ખુદાને માંગશે તો ઇન્શાલ્લાહ અલ્લાહ એની હાજત કબૂલ કરશે. તો હું એને કહું વોઝ WAS વાહિદ અહદ સમદ. વાહિદ અહદ સમદ. જો આપણે જોશું અસ્માઉલ હુસ્નાના ચાર્ટમાં 66, 67, 68. વાહિદ યાને એક, અહદ યાને યુનિક, સમદ યાને એના ઉપર હરેક ડિપેન્ડ કરે. જો તો આપણે જોશું તો આપણે 15, 16, ઓ માય ગુડનેસ 17, 18, 19 આપણે 23 નામ તો જાણી ગયા. તો જેને મેથ્સ આવડે છે 99માંથી 23 કાઢે તો કેટલું વધે? ઓ કમ ઓન, 99 minus 23. બસ એટલા જ બાકી છે. ને એ જાણી જશું તો જન્નત પહોંચી જશું. અમે 13 પહોંચી ગયા તો ઓલું એક્સ્ટ્રા બેનિફિટ આપણે કહે છે ખપે એક્સ્ટ્રા લેયર. You need an extra layer of certainty, right? So 13 tick boxes, the 99 names. And we're done. That's how it works. Okay. So આપણે કરબલા જરાક જાશું. If I can say મદીના જાશું. ઇન્શાલ્લાહ કાલે આપણે પઢશું કે જ્યારે અહલુલ બૈત કરબલા પહોંચે છે. આજે આપણે જોશું કે મદીનામાં ન્યૂઝ કેવી રીતના પહોંચે છે. અશુરાના 10 દિવસ પછી 10 days પછી એક કાસિદ કરબલા જાય છે. યાની એક મેસેન્જર કરબલા જાય છે. એ કરબલા જાય છે મદીના જાય છે ને મદીનાના દરવાજા ઉપર અવાજ આપે છે કે હું કરબલાથી ન્યૂઝ લઈ આવ્યો છું. તો એક औरत જેના હાથમાં એક બચ્ચું હોય છે એ એના પાસે આવે છે ને એ કહે છે ક્યાં ન્યૂઝ છે કરબલાના, મારા મૌલા હુસૈનના ક્યાં ન્યૂઝ છે. તો એ કહે છે કદ કુતિલલ હુસૈન. જ્યારે કહે છે કદ કુતિલલ હુસૈન તો આ औरत કહે છે કે ખબરદાર તું મને આવી રીતના કે મારો અબ્બાસ હોય ને કદ કુતિલલ હુસૈન. તો કાસિદ એને કહે છે કે તારા અબ્બાસ ઉપર આ લોકો ખયાનત કર્યા, એના હાથ કાપી નાખ્યા, એના આંખમાં એક તીર નાખી છે. તારા અબ્બાસ પહેલા જાય છે ઉમ્મુલ બનીન તો એ જાય છે જન્નતુલ બકીમાં. જન્નતુલ બકીમાં બેસીને એટલું બધું રોય છે તો મરવાન ઇબ્ને હકમ બાજુમાં આવે છે. મરવાન ઇબ્ને હકમ એ એક માણસ હોય છે કે જેને અહલુલ બૈત નહોતા ગમતા, યાની ઝાલિમ હતો. એ છે ઉમ્મુલ બનીન તું આજે રોય છે, શું થયું તને આજે? તું તારા 4 દીકરા માટે રોય છે કે ના ના 1000 દીકરા દઈ દઉં ખુદાની રાહમાં, હુસૈન માટે જે ખપે એવું દઈ દઉં. હું ખાલી વિચાર કરું છું, થોડુંક વિચાર કરું છું કે જો મારા દીકરાના હાથ કપાઈ ગયા હોય તો એ ઘોડામાંથી નીચે કેવી રીતના ઉતર્યો હશે. જ્યારે અસીરે કરબલા મદીના પહોંચે છે, આપણે થોડીક એની વાત કર્યા પણ કદાચ એક ઉમ્મુલ બનીન ઉપર કે જ્યારે લોકો પહોંચે છે મદીના. હવે મદીનાવાળાને ખબર હતી કે કરબલામાં શું થયું છે, પણ જ્યારે ઇન્સાન કોઈને જોઈ તો એક બીજી વસ્તુ છે. તો સૈયદા ઝૈનબ એના ઘરમાં જાય છે અને ફિઝાને કહે છે કે ફિઝા મને કોઈને મળવું નથી, મારામાં હિંમત નથી કોઈને મળવાની. કારણ કે એને ઉમ્મે કુલસુમ પહેલાં ગયા હતા રસૂલની કબર ઉપર, એની માની કબર ઉપર, પછી ઘરે જાય છે ને ફિઝાને કહે છે હું ન જઈ શકું. ઉમ્મુલ બનીનને જ્યારે ખબર પડે છે કે સૈયદા ગામમાં છે તો એ જાય છે, દરવાજો ખખડાવે છે. દરવાજો ખખડાવે છે ને ફિઝા ખોલે છે. એક સાઈડમાં જોઈ છે તો અબ્બાસની માં છે, બીજી સાઈડમાં જોઈ છે તો ફાતિમાની દીકરી છે. ખોબરાવે છે ઉમ્મુલ બનીનને. સૈયદાને કહે છે કે દરવાજા ઉપર ઉમ્મે અબ્બાસ છે. સૈયદા ઝૈનબ ભાગે છે દરવાજાના તરફ. અમે આ વિચાર કરી શકીએ આ સીન. ઉમ્મુલ બનીન ભાગે છે એના તરફ, એકબીજાને પકડે છે ને કહે છે, એક કહે છે વાહ અબ્બાસ, એક કહે છે વાહ હુસૈન. ઝૈનબ કહે છે વાહ અબ્બાસ, ઉમ્મુલ બનીન કહે છે વાહ હુસૈન, પછી બેઓ કહે છે વાહ શહીદા. ત્યારે લોકોના દિલમાં સુકૂન આવે છે કે અમે એકબીજાને મળ્યા. ઇન્ના લિલ્લાહી વ ઇન્ના ઇલૈહિ રાજીઉન. સયઅલમૂન અલ્લઝીના ઝલમૂ અય્ય મુન્કલિબિન યન્કલિબૂન. આપણે અલ્લાહ પાસે દુઆ માંગે કે આપણે તૌફીક આપે કે આપણે આ 13 વસ્તુ અમારી જિંદગીમાં અપનાવે તો અમે અહલુલ જન્નત થઈ જાય. આપણે ખુદા પાસે દુઆ માંગે કે અમે તૌફીક આપે કે અમે એની કિતાબને જે હક દેવાનું છે એ હક આપે. ખુદાએ અંતને વાસ્તા આપે છે અબ્બાસના, સકીનાના, ઝૈનબના, ઇમામ સજ્જાદના કે ખુદાયા તું જે દુનિયામાં ઝુલ્મ થઈ રહ્યું છે લોકોને ઝુલ્મમાંથી નજાત આપ. ફતકબ્બલ મિન્ના ઇન્નકા અંતસ સમીઉલ અલીમ.